is the Steve Freeman Podcast.
Howdy, folks, and welcome to... Why did I say howdy? I never say howdy. Anyway, welcome to the podcast. It's good to have you here. Don't forget, rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast, especially if you're on Apple Podcast. I would greatly appreciate it. It takes like 60 seconds of your day. Rate us 5 stars, leave a written review, and we'll feature them here on the podcast. Don't forget anything you need to know, social media links, anything like that, links to our sponsors, everything's in the show notes section of the podcast. If you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, they'll be in the description areas down there. You'll also find a link to join our Facebook group, which I'm loving. I love looking and commenting and getting involved and engaged in some of the conversations that are going on in the Facebook group. Go to facebook.com/The Steve Freeman and click to join the group. Link is in the show notes or the description of the video. I'm anxious to talk today. I know there's some smartasses out there going, "Steve, you're always wanting to talk," which is odd because I really don't like to talk. I would bet every penny that I have and physical possession that I have that I speak more during this podcast than I speak the rest of the week. Probably the rest of the month. I know it's hard to believe, but I don't like to talk a lot. I hate being on the phone, hate talking on the phone. I mean, I've got this thing and I need to post it on Instagram because I haven't posted it in a long time. But I'm one of those people that it's like, if this can at all be texted, then there's no need for you to call. I much prefer text message. And a lot of people talk, well, Steve, that is so impersonal. Yes, it is. that is the exact reason. I hate being on the phone. I so much more would rather communicate via text message or email. It's just the way that I am. I don't even know where I was going with that. I don't even know why. Anyway, on to today's topic, what we're talking about. Scaling your brand and your business. We had an episode, I believe it was the last episode. We were talking about, it being a marathon, not a sprint. And I got some emails and some DMs and people are like, okay, well then give us some specifics. I'm like, all right, I can do that. I want to talk about some different areas. And first of all, when you really want to scale your business, and I think this is good too, for those of you that are just starting out and are starting your business as well, start with your identity. Identify where you are in the process. And in part of this, you got to be honest with yourself. Don't convince yourself or sell yourself that you're 10 steps further along in the process than you really are. That can even be from an information and being informed standpoint. If you're wanting to grow your business into something, you're wanting to scale your business, that has to do with setting realistic and actually obtainable goals. In order to do that, you have to be honest with yourself. So identify where you are. Identify where you want to be in 6 months. Now, you can do this when you're starting out, but like I said in the last episode, I encourage you guys to have think way longer down the road than 6 months when you're starting out. Be prepared for the marathon. But if you're talking about scaling, you're already running, you're already having some certain level of success, and you want to scale. I get asked this a lot of times about content creators on YouTube or TikTok or Instagram. Where do you want to be in 6 months? What kind of content do you need to create? What sort of consistency do you need to create to go from where you are right now to where you want to be in 6 months? Then I want you to think about where you want to be in a year from now. And what a lot of people do is they take their 6-month goal and they just double it. And they go, okay, well, I want to be here in a year, which is twice as further along the road than I was in 6 months. It doesn't work that way. It really honestly doesn't work that way. So be honest with yourself, identify where you are, identify where you want to be in 6 months, identify where you want to be in a year from now. Now, here's one of the most important things, and all of us have them. You need to identify the things you do not like to do and the things you do not do well. I go through this a lot in my business. There are a lot of things that I do not like to do. Identify what those are. Write those things down. Get your phone out and make a note and go, hey, yes, I know everybody, we love our businesses. We love our brands. We love them. But there are aspects of them that, especially when it comes to functions and doing things, there are things we don't like to do. I don't like editing. I used to really love editing the podcast. I don't like editing the podcast, so I don't do it anymore. It also freed up a lot of time. So identify the things that you don't like to do so that you're not exerting passion, you're not exerting energy and valuable time into doing things that you really don't like doing. Along with that, identify the things that take you the most time. But time is the most valuable thing that we have. It's the most valuable asset. It's more important than the dollars you have in the bank. It's more important than anything, because if you don't have time, having all of the rest of it doesn't really matter. So I want you to identify where you are, identify where you want to be in 6 months, identify where you want to be in a year. Then I want you to think on the execution side and identify the things that you don't like to do, identify the things that you don't do well, and identify the things that take you the most time. When you can come up with a solution to each one of those things, you're going to see your business really start to scale. Because if you can eliminate things that you don't do well, if you can eliminate the things that you do not want to do, and you can redirect that energy and that time and that passion and even in some cases, financial resources, if you can redirect those resources to something that the things that you do love to do, that you do well, and that don't take up too much of your time, all's going to be better. Now, point number 2, all of that plays into this. You have to invest in your brand. You have to invest in your business. Let's talk about content creator wise. Let's talk about gear. Upgrade your camera, upgrade your website, upgrade your studio gear, upgrade your brand relaunch, upgrade your logo. You have to invest in your business. And it just amazes me, people that you want to avoid this step because nobody likes spending money. Everybody loves making money. Nobody likes spending it, except on the things that we really like. And if you're like me, it lasts for, 30 minutes to 3 days. And then I'm like, God, I wish I wouldn't have spent the money. And then what I do is end up going back and doing the things that I don't like to do, doing the things that I don't do well, and doing the things that take the most time because I'm trying to make up for the money that I spent. Invest in your business. Marketing, social media, and even to a point of investing is bringing on other people to help you. If you really want to scale your business and you want to take it from where it is now to where you want to be, you're going to have to invest in the business in a way. And a lot of times that may be bringing on one person that can take over the task of doing the things that you don't like to do, doing the things that you don't do well. Bring on other people. If you're not good with websites, then hire somebody to work on your website. If you take it to music business, if you are a songwriter, and you love writing the songs, but you're not that great of a producer, then hire a producer to produce your music. The other side of that coin, maybe you're a really good producer, it's you're a shitty fucking songwriter. Then work with other songwriters, bring other people in. If you don't do well with returning emails, bring somebody in to help you return emails. Find the pieces of your puzzle that don't fit well, that you don't like, and bring in other pieces. And look, this is a tough one for me. I've needed to hire about 3 people for 5 years, and I refuse to do it. I'm getting to the point now where I am doing it, and I'm bringing on people to do, like I was talking about, the things that I don't want to do, the things that I don't do well, and the things that take the most time. Because I'm better when I have time to focus on actually growing the business and implementing ideas and being creative and coming up with those. I like being the idea guy, not so much the doer. But it's important that everything gets done. So investing in your business is a major way, is identifying those things and then filling those holes. Bringing somebody on to help you. And there's always pushback there. Well, that's going to cost me money. Yes, but growing your business and scaling your brand is going to cost you money. It doesn't come free. Organic is over. Organic is done. There's no thing or list of things, especially of that you don't like to do, that you don't do well, and that take too much time. There's not an infinite amount of lists that those things can reside on that are going to make your business grow organically. The more you do things you don't like, the more things you do things that you really don't know how to do, and the more time they take are sapping the growth out of your business. They are literally, they're cramping your style and keeping your brand from growing. So invest in your business and your brand. If it's a physical thing, if it's like I'm big on camera gear, I'm constantly buying the new camera every time one comes out. That's why I own every Sony camera that has probably ever been put out, because I love upgrading those things. New technology, the new A7S III just came out. Ordered it. Why? Different sensor, different processing, better autofocus, and I upgrade. Now, you don't have to upgrade everything. Like this, the computer in here in the podcast studio. Now, when I bought it 2 years ago, I bought it fully maxed out, but there's no need for me to invest. It's working great. It's perfect. Pick the things that help your business grow. And those are the things that you want to invest in. And I have found when I do bring on people to help me, I do find that is often the best investment that I've ever had, is when I've brought on somebody to do one of the three things that we talked about earlier, that either I don't want to do, because then things don't get done that need to get done. And just because you don't want to do them is not a good enough reason to not have them done. So maybe that's where you need to invest. I know when I started bringing on, even if it's contractors to work on a contract basis, my product improves when I stop doing things that I don't do well. And I bring in somebody that does that very well. It works. Same reason, music, I don't mix the records that I produce. Could I? Yes. Do I want to? No. Are there people that do it a lot better than me? Yes. That's why I don't mix records. I don't like the process. It takes me too much time and I don't do it well. That's why I have a mixing engineer that works for me that mixes every project that I do, because he does it well. He likes to do it, and it doesn't take him as much time. So invest in your business. Outsource. There's nothing, you cannot do it all. You are incapable of doing it all, especially if you've gotten to a point where you're starting to see a little bit of results. You know, you're growing subscribers, or you're growing streams, or you're gaining fans and likes on Facebook and Instagram. Things are really, you're starting to see orders come in. Look, the phone's ringing. That's when it's time. And I will say this, and I know some people are going to have an issue with this. Some people are going to have a problem, but that's okay. I look at bringing knowledgeable and experienced people on your team the same way I look at having kids. If you wait till you can afford them, you'll never have them. You've got to consider this a piece and part of growing your business, growing your brand, expanding and scaling. Now, bringing that person on may mean you don't get to do this extra thing you want to do, or buy that new TV, or buy that new car, or whatever. But to really get to the point where you don't have to make decisions like that, it's not bring on somebody to help run my business or get the new car. You're never going to get to a position where you're not making those type of financial decisions until you get your business to a certain point, and there's no way you can do it alone. There's just no way. Marketing and social media is another one too. That it's like I'm now have other people do it because I don't have time. It's like we've got a team here with the agency, and they're the ones doing it because I don't have time to do it anymore. Me spending the time to do it is counterproductive. Point number 3, automate as much as humanly possible. Your social media, your email, all of your emails should be automated at this point. Those of you that email, you know what happens when you send me an email. You get an email back from me, and it's automated. It's not that I don't care and I'm not trying to be personable with you. It's just I don't have time immediately to turn around and email you back. But I want you to know that I got the email. I appreciate you sending it, and I'll get back with you when I can. So many of you get tied up with right here. Text message comes in, got to answer. Email came in, got to answer. How much time is that robbing you from growing your business? A lot, I would imagine. Automate anything that can be automated. Social media, we've talked about this in the past. You should be batching content. Use 1 or 2 days a week to create all of your content that's going to be used for the remaining week, the remaining month, whatever it is. Batch that content. Stop allowing it to take up so much of your time. What also starts to take up your time is sitting around thinking about what content you're going to create. Dedicate time to that, create the content, batch the content, then schedule the content. There are a lot of different services out there that you can use. I know Hootsuite is one. Sendable is one that I've been using lately. Not an ad. They're not sponsoring. But I like the platform. You can literally sit down and in 1 hour schedule every post for Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and all of that. In an hour, you can have the rest of your week's stuff done. So you're not sitting here constantly thinking, okay, I need to post something. What do I need to post? Oh, I don't know what to post. No, I posted that yesterday. Schedule it. Automate anything and everything that is possible. It's the best way to scale because what it does is it gives you what? It gives you more time. And like we said earlier, it's the most valuable thing that any of us have. The more time you have, the better your business is going to be. The more it's going to grow and the easier it's going to be to scale because it takes time. One of the important things I want to talk about is identifying your fears. We all very often are afraid to try something. We're afraid to do something because we don't know what the end result's going to be. We fear things that we can't control, anticipate, or have an answer for. And when you really think about it, we get scared because we don't automatically know the outcome. It's like walking into a very dark room with no light. I mean, you open the door and all you can see is 3 feet in front of you where the light's shining, but you can't see what's at the back of the room. We all like to be able to anticipate. We all like to think we want to know what we're getting into. That's just not possible, and it's unrealistic to think that way. So identify what it is that you're afraid of. Are you afraid of hiring somebody and bringing them on? If you are, why are you afraid of that? Are you afraid that you're going to spend the money and not get the return on your investment that you really need? Are you afraid of bringing them on and they don't really know how to do things the way you want them done? So that's going to put you further behind. What are your fears? Identify what your fears are. Realize you're not going to be able to control them. You're not going to be able to anticipate them. And you're not going to have an answer for every single fear that you've got. Your fears at this point right now are actually your obstacles to growth. And I will tell you that most of you right now that want to grow and that want to scale your business, you're not doing so, or you're doing the wrong things out of trying to tread too lightly and being fearful. You're afraid to spend the money. You're afraid somebody's going to, come into your business and then go off and be successful while you're still struggling. There are many different fears out there. That's one of the fears I've had with growing my business. I've been very apprehensive about bringing people onto my team because when it's happened in the past, those people have taken proprietary things and ideas and they've gone off and they've done them. And that's a very fearful thing. I also, one of my big fears, as I mentioned it, but I'll definitely go out on the limb and say that it's definitely one of my fears is I'm afraid they won't do it the way that I want it done. I have a control issue. I feel like I need to be the one that's doing it because if I'm the one that's doing it, then I know it's getting done exactly the way that I want it. On the flip side of that coin, I'm never happy or satisfied with what I do. So we have this constant battle with ourselves. And it's a battle we don't have to have. We're going to have to be a little bit more trusting of people. And I think ultimately a lot of it comes down to finances. A lot of it comes down to money. You are afraid to spend the money. And I'm in that boat with you. Believe me, I'm in that boat with you. But if we want to grow, we've got to overcome those fears and those obstacles. And the biggest one that we can, the biggest obstacle that we face is eliminating and overcoming those fears. The last thing I want to talk about is something we hit on in last episode. And that is learn to say no. When we want to grow and we want to scale and we want things to be more successful, we want to make more money, we put ourselves into a situation where we often say yes when we should say no. I do this 35,000 times a week, sometimes in a day. We're afraid to say no because we're afraid if we say no, we're turning down an opportunity. And most of the time when we say yes and we should have said no, we do that all the time. We talked about this last episode. It's that thing that we say yes to, though, that takes us outside the scope of our business and our goals. But we justify saying yes by convincing ourselves that the money earned for the knowledge gained will help us in our business and it'll help us get to our ultimate goal. It'll help us achieve what we're trying to do. Yes, I'll say yes to this. It has nothing to do with my business, has nothing to do with my goal, but I know how to do it and I can make some quick cash. So I say yes. And then I'll use that money to do what Steve's telling me to do. And then I'll hire somebody to do this for my business. It never works. All it does is it's going to demand your time. It's going to shift your focus, and it's going to take you further away from the ball. You're just going to get further away from what it is that you're trying to do. But I think you're getting the picture here. A lot of it has to do with identity. And as much as possible, going back to what we were talking about earlier, identify where you are. Identify where you want to be in 6 months. Where do you want to be at the end of the year? Most importantly, if you take anything away from today's episode, take away these three things. Identify things that you don't like to do. Identify things that you don't do well. And you have to be honest with yourself there. I like YouTube thumbnails. I'm really good with Photoshop and Illustrator, but I make the world's fucking stupidest thumbnails. Everybody else makes better thumbnails than I do. I should be hiring somebody to make my thumbnails. I should be hiring somebody to write the different descriptions for the podcast because I'm not good at it. I don't like to do it. There are people that could do it better. But then ultimately also identify the things that take you the most time. And often it's the things that take us the most time that are the things we're doing that we think we do well, when really we're not doing them well at all. Give yourself the time that it takes to invest in the things that you do well, that you do enjoy doing, and that you can possibly eliminate some time there. Invest in your brand or business. You are not going to grow your business with no money. I try to find other colorful ways of putting it, and I just can't come up with it. Well, I could probably come up with some. But guys, if you don't have the money, you've got nothing. You can't grow your business with no money. So if that's one of your obstacles, then financing becomes your main obstacle. Money becomes your main obstacle. And then you need to do whatever it is that you've got to do to get the money to help you do what you need to do to grow your business. If that means going and getting a full-time job, then maybe you got to do that. Maybe you have to put your business on hold for a little while until you can afford to properly fund the business. And that's unpopular, and you guys don't like hearing that. And I say it often, and every single time I do, I get a ton of shit for saying it. But it's the truth. Oh, Steve, you're just all about making money. You're goddamn right I am. Passion. I said a couple episodes ago, I said, fuck passion. Well, that's what I believe. Because passion doesn't make my mortgage payment. Passion doesn't make the electric bill payment. Passion doesn't pay the tuition at my kid's school. Passion pays for nothing. And I'm sorry, we live in a world where your passion isn't enough, where your desire isn't enough, where your talent isn't enough, where your experience isn't enough. But that's the world we live in. We live in a pay-to-play society. If you can't afford to pay, you're not going to be able to play. You will not be admitted. So yes, making sure you have the right financing in line to start and grow and scale your business is probably priority number one. Where I see a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs go wrong is they line up financing. But subconsciously, what they end up doing is allocating most of that money to go to them so that they can be comfortable while they grow their business. I had this happen 3-4 months ago. I had a small business contact our agency and say, hey, we want you to be our brand management agency. We want you to do all this. And I'm going, great. okay, where we are, how much money you got? And he's like, we've got $300,000 to start. And I'm like, okay, great. We're going to do this. And he goes, whoa, wait a minute. Well, now like 200,000 of that is my salary. I'm taking as my salary. And I'm like, then your business is going to fail. You see this on Shark Tank all the time. You know, they get really pissed off when they're talking about, okay, what are you going to use the money for? Well, I'm going to use the money to pay myself. Now, listen, I'm not that bad or serious against that. Yes, you have to pay your bills, and yes, you have to, but you don't have to be comfortable. You should, just in my experience, I don't know anybody that's built a very successful business that was comfortable along the way. It was hard. There were times of struggle. That ultimately is what builds the integrity of the person leading the business. It's not always going to be good. But I see a lot of it. I see it in the music business a lot. An artist will go out and they will find an investor to help them. And let's say, and I'm just throwing out numbers here. Let's say an investor gives them $100,000 and they're going to make a record. We're going to write all the songs. We're going to put it out. We're going to have marketing and distribution. We're going to have promotional costs. We're going to do ads on Spotify. We're going to do all of this. We got $100,000. And then the artist goes, well, I mean, I've got to take 50 of it, to live on while we do all this. And you're like, okay, well, then we will cut out all of the promotion. We'll cut out all of the marketing. We'll cut half the songs. See, that's the thing. When you have that sort of mentality and you approach it from that standpoint, whatever it is that you're taking, you need to cut your expectations by a minimum of a half and probably more like 75%. And I get hit all the time. But Steve, I mean, I'm the most valuable part in the process. And that is your mistake. You honestly think that, well, if I don't pay for myself and I'm struggling, then the business is going to struggle. When you start drawing lines and differentiating yourself and the business, you're already starting down a very, very, very expedient path to failure. There is no difference between you and your business. As you personally grow, the business will grow. As the business grows, so will you. If you fail, the business will fail. If the business fails, then you will fail. So I get it. I understand. And I think a lot of this happens at times because so many people come from nothing. So when they get the opportunity to have something, it's like, oh, I want something for me. I feel like I've sacrificed for so long that now I've got the opportunity. I want something for me. And I get that. And I understand that. I've been there and I've done it. But it's not how you grow a business. If you want a successful business 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 25 years from now, you can't start it thinking of yourself first. You can't start it and go into it thinking about how you can make yourself more comfortable for the journey. It's just not possible. So there you go. There are some ways you can scale and grow your brand or your business. Think about those things very, very seriously. And again, we talked about it in the last episode, but I'm going to say it again. Prepare for the marathon. Thank you guys for joining me for another episode. Don't forget, rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. Links to everything are in the show notes or description of the podcast or the video if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube. Join us at the new Facebook group. Go to facebook.com/The Steve Freeman. Click the button. Join the group. Myself or one of our moderators will approve you instantly, and you'll be able to join our little community. And we hope to see you over there. Guys, till the next episode, keep being creative. Keep pressing the boundaries, and there's nothing wrong with being independent. See you in the next episode.
The Steve Freeman Podcast. Available now on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, and everywhere else you get your podcasts.